Aggression ramps up between Russia and Ukraine. The energy secretary wants low-income earners to finance solar panels for their homes. Dan Crenshaw jumps into the mix regarding the Mar-a-Lago raid, and a majority of Americans think what's taking place at the U.S.-Mexico border is in fact an invasion. All that and more here on The Bald Brad Show. Welcome to The Bald Brad Show. It is Monday, August 22nd, and if you're joining us, that means you're starting this week off right with all of us here at The Bald Brad Show, where we come together as a community of conservatives and Republicans, go over the stories of the day, and bring you all the news and information you need to know about. So if you want to join us here at The Bald Brad Show, and we hope that you do, again, we're all conservatives and Republicans for the most part here. We would love to have you. Just make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. If you're over at Rumble, hit the plus and give us a comment down below. And if you're listening on any of the podcast airwaves, Apple, Google, Spotify, heck, you can find us anywhere and everywhere, folks. Leave us a lovely 5-star review. Not only are you helping a conservative, but most importantly, you're supporting getting conservative thought and ideas out there to new viewers who haven't seen our content or our channel. So your help and support would be greatly appreciated. With that being said, folks, I hope you're settled in here. I hope you got your coffee, your food, whatever it is you eat or drink. And let's jump right into the news today regarding the whole Russia-Ukraine debacle. And the story here that we're going to cover, honestly, it's actually a really terrible story. It's basically an assassination attempt gone wrong here. So what it says here is we have Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelenskyy coming out and warning that Russia may ramp up its aggression this week following an attack on the family of a close ally of Russian Vladimir Putin. Zelenskyy made the warning Saturday, adding that Russian forces may try something particularly nasty this week due to Ukraine celebrating its Independence Day on Wednesday. The warning also comes after the daughter of a top Putin ally was killed in a car bombing near Moscow on Saturday night local time. The daughter of pro-Putin political philosopher was killed while leaving a music and culture festival when her SUV just exploded. Her father was among those who urged Putin to move forward with an invasion of Ukraine, and authorities are saying that the bomb was intended for him rather than his daughter. He was attending the festival, was not in the vehicle when the bomb detonated. This is a tragic and terrible story because the daughter probably had nothing to do with this man's thinking and him pushing this whole Russian-Ukraine invasion on Putin and kind of advancing that whole thought and putting certain things maybe in Putin's mind, who only knows. And I don't know this man well enough. I don't know if he's kind of one of those mobster type guys that's into killing journalists and doing some weird and shady stuff. I have no idea. But because of his decisions and the things and the people that he's involved with, his daughter's now dead, which is a terrible, terrible thing. And it just shows you, quite frankly, just how dark things still are in our world, and really shows you as well how things can go wrong very quickly. What's also interesting here is the way that Zelenskyy decided to word things, and I'll get into that right now. Quote, "We should be aware that this week Russia may try to do something particularly nasty, something particularly cruel, such as our enemy, but in any other week during these 6 months, Russia did the same thing all the time, disgusting and cruel." Now that's where I find things a little bit interesting, is that last sentence there, is that Russia did the same thing all the time, disgusting and cruel. It's kind of coming across of, well, because they were doing it the last 6 months, they were doing shady stuff that was disgusting and cruel, it's okay for us to do it as well. Now, did he come out and say that it was them? No, not that I'm aware of. Maybe some of you might have some other news that I don't. So it almost seems like he's implying that they did it without actually saying, oh, it was us, we did it. And also just kind of making that warning of, well, because it may or may not have been us, Putin's still going to think it was us, which is fair enough. I mean, they're the ones that are battling against Russia at this present time, but what a terrible assassination attempt of what it seems like gone wrong. Quote, "One of the key tasks of the enemy is to humiliate us, Ukrainians, to devalue our capabilities, our heroes, to spread despair, fear, to spread conflicts. Therefore, it is important never for a single moment to give in to this enemy pressure, not to wind up oneself, not to show weakness." Zelenskyy addressed concerns that Russia may destroy the Ukrainian nuclear plant, which is the first seized in the opening weeks of the invasion. And I think there was some damage already done to it, or Russia was kind of targeting it in some way, shape, or form. And I could see Vladimir doing this. I don't know, again, how close he was to this guy. If he's super close, if it's like a brother, then you just piss the guy off because you messed up big time. Who's going to see or know what the fallout's going to be? We'll have to wait. But terrible story, kind of sad. And also on top of that, has anybody been keeping track of how much money we've been freaking sending to Ukraine? Not just money, but just assets in general, military grade equipment. I mean, I want to say it's at least the very bottom number is $40 billion. That's the bottom number. I don't even know. I haven't aggregated just all the money and assets in total, how much we've sent them. If any of you know, can we please, for the love of God, put in the comments below? Because we are sending ungodly amounts of weaponry and money, and Lord only knows what else, to Ukraine. It's crazy. I'm curious on who did this assassination attempt. I'm calling it an assassination attempt. I'm not saying it is, but cars just don't usually blow up by themselves, folks. So something went wrong here. The UN sounded alarm about such an attack last week, and some analysts have said destroying the facility would be a Chernobyl on steroids. I mean, what a devastating thing that would be if Russia did go ahead and attack that nuclear facility. And I don't even know if that would be considered a war crime doing something like that. I mean, you're opening up a whole can of worms, which makes me think that's why maybe Putin himself hasn't given the authorization to do such a thing. Lord only knows, but just a tragic, tragic story here this morning regarding what's going on with that man's daughter. If he is a scumbag, folks, still, if his daughter's a good kid, right? She might not know what this guy's done. She doesn't deserve to die. It's a kid, or at least even a teenager, even a young adult. So that's what's taking place there. We also have in other news here, this lady's still showing face. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable who Biden has put in his cabinet and also leading the way on certain things. We'll get to the whole immigration thing, folks. Wait till we get to that. But right here, you have the energy secretary suggesting that families should buy an electric car or invest in weatherizing their homes to combat soaring inflation. She wants them to also finance solar panels, which we'll get to in a moment. My brain is already 5 steps ahead. Well, she appeared on Fox News Sunday, touting that tax credits for buying an electric vehicle or weatherizing homes and businesses in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. And for those that are listening, I put that in air quotes because we all know it doesn't actually reduce any sort of inflation. She claimed that those tax credits would lower costs for low-income and middle-class families struggling with inflation. Quote, one of the critiques here with these credits is that the high prices are high, right? And that the supply is limited. What is the practicality of all this? It seems like there's a disconnect. What's the practicality for everyday Americans in this kind of benefit? The host asked. Well, let's go ahead and just see the clip here of the whole thing between her and the Fox News host. Let's go ahead and roll it.
Really, you could make the same argument. We were talking about tax breaks for adding solar panels, energy efficient windows, appliances, heat pumps. You know, what do you say to the families who simply can't afford this stuff in the first place?
Well, number one, for your home, yes, there are significant incentives in this bill, which is great, to reduce people's energy costs on a monthly basis. So if you are low income, you can get your home entirely weatherized through the expansion from the bipartisan infrastructure law, a significant expansion. You don't have to pay for anything. If you want heat pumps, insulation, new windows, that is covered. If you are moderate income, today you can get 30% off the price of solar panels. Those solar panels can be financed, so you don't have to have the big outlay at the front. And when they're financed in a way that reduces your energy bill, even though you have solar panels. With this 30% off, it's a significant incentive. Same thing with if you don't qualify for the weatherization program, you will be able to, starting next year, get rebates on the appliances and equipment that will help you reduce your monthly energy bill by up to 30%. This is all about reducing costs for people.
And yet the electricity prices continue to go up.
It's just, I mean, the messaging, as I've always said from this Biden administration, is just terrible. I mean, folks, it's unbelievable how she's pushing this. Well, you get a 30% discount on something you can't afford in the first place, and we know that you can't afford it, which is why they're telling them to finance this whole thing. So she's advocating that people go into debt that's already struggling with probably debt themselves. There's massive inflation, and so you're going to lump this in what's called an Inflation Reduction Act, this whole Orwellian messaging that you're pushing, and they go, well, hey, if you're middle class or, well, you can't afford it, it's okay. There's going to be a rebate later on. It's just, and just on top of that, her pushing this whole thing of like, oh, well, you get insulation, if you need a heat pump or whatever it is, it's okay. It's free. It's on the taxpayer's dime. It's for people, we're just going to be spending other people's money, the taxpayer money, for you to make improvements on your home. Isn't that just lovely for all of you to know that your money's just going to somebody else that's just going to upgrade their home, and they're going to profit from it because they might meet the certain criteria of whether it's low income or middle class on your dime? Hey, dude. It is so crazy the time that we live in, and just how Democrats just absolutely love spending other people's money. So she says this, right? Let's kind of revert a little bit back. There's two implications here. One is, for example, if you want to buy a used vehicle, you can get $4,000 off at the dealership today. If you want to buy a new electric vehicle, there's a $7,500 credit for those that are assembled in America. That's a key thing there. Has to be assembled here, and that goes way further than what we're going to talk about here. But there has to be certain components of the vehicle that either have to be all built here in America or partially built. And depending on that, the partial is whether you get the tax credit or 50% or you don't get anything at all. And what we went over on the show is the vast majority of electric vehicles, you're not getting this tax credit at all. But she's not going to say that. She's not going to come out and expose that type of stuff, because ultimately you would see what a ruse all this is, the bamboozling that's going on. Why is this important? Because the president wants to reshore manufacturing. It's not just in electric vehicles. It will be in solar panels. It will be in wind turbines. It will be in transmission. It will be in electric vehicles and the batteries for those electric vehicles. A whole supply chain and ecosystem, energy ecosystem, built up in the United States because of the incentives in the Inflation Reduction Act. Whoop-de-doo, folks. Wow, look at that, huh? How about you take all this stuff that you're talking about with energy and you start increasing domestic oil production that's going to help drive the cost down of what we're paying for at the pump in the long run, as well as hopefully in the short term, depending on what we're talking about month-wise or yearly-wise in short term. So that would help with our freight. It would help drive the cost of what you're seeing at the grocery store, at the pump, and everywhere else down somewhat. But he doesn't want to do this. They want to push this whole clean energy agenda. And while they're pushing it, they want to lie to you about it at the same time. And there's people that are totally on board with this stuff. I mean, Joe Manchin literally come out and said, oh yeah, it doesn't really reduce inflation. It was just kind of a gimmick. I cannot believe that the media are not bashing this administration in the same way that they bash Trump. They are like, Trump lied. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big Trump supporter. You guys see the hat. I love the man. He's huge. He's great. He's awesome. He's phenomenal. To say that he didn't lie is disingenuous. That itself, saying that, is a lie. Trump did lie about certain things, not in anywhere the realm that we're seeing from the Biden administration or even the Obama administration. Again, politics is politics. There's going to be lies within there, but this is wild. This is nuts. But you talk about incentives. Maybe it's the messaging. People don't quite get it, Gallagher responded. Cutting up clips of ordinary Americans who say they still could not afford an electric car, even with the tax credit. And really, you can make the same argument when you're talking about tax breaks for solar panels, energy efficient windows, appliances, heat pumps. What do you say to the families who simply can't afford this stuff in the first place? Go finance it. Wasn't that just great? What great advice it is to tell people to go finance something they couldn't afford in the first place, so now they're incurring more debt over time. And on top of that, they're paying more for that product or service or whatever it may be than they would have been if they just saved up for it in the first place. I mean, it is crazy freaking messaging here. I mean, this isn't the only time that she's told people to just go outright and buy an electric vehicle that's anywhere from $35,000 to $65,000 to buy a vehicle. But it's okay, folks. Just go ahead and finance everything. Not a big deal. Put it on credit. Borrow that money. Interest rates are going through the roof because the Federal Reserve has to increase the interest rates, which the banks look at for their lending. So not only do you have inflation, not only do you have increased interest rates, but now you're paying more because of those interest rates, because of the inflation of which the Obama administration caused. I could go on forever about this. Is anybody just, their head spinning like the Exorcist in a 360 going, what the hell are you talking about, lady? Well, I'm not the only person that's caught on to this ruse and this shenanigans that's taking place. Republicans just came out in droves on Twitter and just devoured this woman. We have Tommy Pickett here saying, perfect example about how Democrats don't care about rising costs, only their Green New Deal. Food is rising at the fastest pace since 1979, and Biden's response is to push you out to buy solar panels. Not wrong. We have another man saying they don't know how they sound because everything they read and everything they know just echoes their ideology back at them, except turn up the volume higher in pitch and with applause. I mean, They always talk about Crenshaw and, and we've seen this on the show as well, when Peter Doocy talks to her about gas prices or whatever it may be, going, oh, well, we understand the kitchen table issues. We understand, or the countertop issues from Joy Behar of The View. She's an idiot. We all know that, but she calls it the countertop issues when it's the kitchen table issues. They say they understand all this stuff, but yet at the same time, they're going to have you push this whole solar panel thing. Go finance this stuff. Go buy it yourself. 30% here, 30% there, when there's a massive issue going on with inflation, massive issue going on with freight, massive issue going with the supply chain. So you might be forking out the bill for something you're not even going to see in a long time, but it's okay. The government's going to pick it up for some, the government's going to pick it up for others, and most likely probably not even pick it up for you folks. So if you're watching this show, probably not even going to get paid for. Don't worry about it though. 30% off, go finance it. Who cares what the interest rate is? Not a big deal. Another person wrote, Biden energy secretary says Americans struggling with high energy costs can finance solar panels, aka go further into debt, just what everyone else needs. Echoing what I said, Abigail, you're getting it. You have another gentleman saying an underrated aspect of the Biden administration's unpopularity is just how terribly his cabinet has performed at messaging. It's as if this guy listens to the show. Unbelievable. Look, I'm not the only one saying this stuff. This is the first time real live reaction of me reading these right now. It's just unbelievable. And there's a bias in there that makes you feel good of like, hey, somebody's echoing the same thing that you are, that all of us Republicans and conservatives are using common sense without having to read each other and know what the hell's going on like the Biden administration does, to know that, hey, it does make sense that your freaking messaging sucks. When your best performer is Tony Blinken, you have a problem. And let me tell you, Tony Blinken sucks. That guy just terrible at his job too. You have another one, Jack Schneider. People can't afford gas or groceries, but at least they can take a tax credit 6 to 12 months from now for weatherizing their homes. Just what American people are asking for. Ridiculous, so out of touch, is another person saying. And you're going to love this. The Inflation Reduction Act includes thousands of dollars in tax breaks and rebates for homeowners to upgrade their homes, right? Which is what we just got done saying, which allows them to be more energy efficient. Households with income below 80% of the area median can claim a rebate for the full cost of their appliance upgrades, up to $14,000 cap, and households that fall between 80% and 150% of their area median household income are eligible for rebates of 50% of their costs up to $14,000. Man, where's all this money coming from, you guys? Geez. Oh, it's coming from out of yours and I pocket because Democrats love spending. The bill also provides a 30% tax credit for homeowners to install solar panels and other renewable energy measures. This isn't for the first time that she's faced backlash for appearing out of touch. Back in November 2021, when gas prices were rising, that's when she talked about just going, hey, go buy an electric vehicle. Not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. Well, speaking of this whole messaging, the debacle from the Biden administration, remember that whole Trump Mar-a-Lago raid the other week? Where Trump's like, they raided my house. What the hell are they doing? Why are they going through Melania's underwear drawer? Huh? You sickos, you freak, you fanatics, Democrats. Like, the whole Mar-a-Lago raid took place, right? And then everybody's wondering, going, okay, well, why the hell are you doing this? Has never happened before. What are you thinking? You would have to know that there's going to be backlash because this has never happened before. It doesn't look good. Trump's most likely going to run in 2024. We all figure it's going to happen. And so you're conducting this raid. It better be something good. You better have found what you needed. But they're going to do this off of one affidavit. One. Whereas we just went through an entire election where they're handing out ballots like they're fucking hotcakes, excuse my French, and just voting 3 times, voting 5 times, voting twice, voting where there's no property on site and somehow somebody's registered at that property. I mean, y'all saw 2,000 Mules. There is some credibility to what Dinesh D'Souza did on there, 100%. My problem is this. There was thousands of affidavits, thousands of things that people saw and heard. I didn't see any raids. I didn't see any seizing of assets. I didn't see any seizing of voting machines. I didn't see any seizing at all. All I saw was the Democrats claiming, oh, well, there's all these audits going on. As a previous auditor myself, there was no damn audits going on. All they did was just recount the very same thing that they did. There was no forensic accounting taking place. There's no forensic auditing taking place looking at certain things. Later on, there was, not by the government from my understanding, more for coming from the side of the Trumps and just those supporters trying to push certain audits taking place where they're going in and doing some sort of forensic analysis on it. But no. It only takes one affidavit from a person. You're going to go raid the former president of the United States based on some guy's wording that he's sure that there's some boxes in there with like nuclear stuff. Regarding nuclear stuff, this is where Dan Crenshaw comes in. I have a feeling, folks, there's some shady stuff going on, and I think all of you do as well. And again, just shadiness after shadiness coming from the Democrat Party. This has been going on for some time, going back to Hillary Clinton with the whole server debacle. the whole Benghazi debacle. Okay. Now we're going with the whole thing of what's going on with Hunter Biden's laptop. That was all conspiracy theory. That wasn't real for the longest time. You even talked about it. You got removed off social media, but now it turns out to be real. Oh, it wasn't Russian disinformation. Oh God, who would have thought? So we're supposed to run along with all the Democrats' schemes and everything they're pushing here. Thank God we have Republicans that are willing to come out and going, yeah, this is a little weird. Dan Bongino, all the hosts of Fox News, us here at the Bald Brad Show, those at the Daily Wire, we're all seeing through the smoke here. Representative Dan Crenshaw blasts the Mar-a-Lago raid. Thank God he's jumping in the mix. I actually like this man. One, he served our country, former Navy SEAL, just pure badass. But two, you jump in the mix when you need to, and that's what Dan Crenshaw is doing. So he blasted the FBI's conduct during the recent raid on Mar-a-Lago. He appeared on CNN State of the Union Sunday. Crenshaw said the FBI took extreme measures to extract classified documents from former President Donald Trump's Florida estate earlier this month. Mind you, Donald Trump and his team were following along. They were listening and abiding to what the feds wanted, the National Archives, supposedly, which this is all about. So they were listening to them, they were cooperating, they're doing what they need to do, and it wasn't good enough. You still have Merrick Garland sitting 2 weeks plus on knowing that this stuff wanted to happen, meaning the FBI wanted to raid and look for all this stuff. And if it was actual nuclear weapons, nuclear codes, whatever it may have been, you're telling me that you're going to wait 2 to 3 weeks and go, I think today's a good day. Let's go ahead and raid him today. I don't know. Sounds a little fishy to me. Crenshaw said that the raid on Mar-a-Lago was completely unwarranted, given that Trump had been complying with federal officials for some time. He also dismissed the idea that Trump was holding classified materials related to nuclear weapons in boxes of documents that FBI seized. Quote, I'm not one to withhold criticism and even make my own side mad. I want to get to the truth, but I will be honest with you. It's hard to justify what the Department of Justice did here, in my opinion. Here's what it really boils down to. It's not a question that it's bad to have classified material in a non-sensitive compartment information facility environment. That's also known as a SCIF. That's not a secret compartmentalized infrastructure there. That's wrong. But there's a way to mitigate that. There's ways to resolve that issue. And I still haven't seen any evidence that Trump was even asked to give these documents back. He's been cooperating with them on issues for a while now, for months for that matter. And so why take it to extreme extent? I think that's why you're seeing so much backlash from Republicans and conservatives. I want to add that in there as well. You're seeing everyone basically pissed off about this whole thing. It doesn't matter what side of the issue you're on with Trump. We've seen a lot of this taking place around this one because it does just seem unjust. And there does seem to be a long history of loss of credibility at the Department of Justice at the hands of Democrats. And I think people are right and rightfully frustrated about that. Yeah, there's people that's pissed. And we're not going to let this go. This story is going to ride out till November. And I'll make sure, at least here on the Bald Brad Show, we keep covering this because we can't let this energy, this momentum go based on what Democrats did. They're trying to throw all this other stuff our way. All of a sudden, Biden's taking a vacation after this stuff taking place, another vacation, as if the man's not always on vacation. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. He doesn't even know he's president. He thought he was running for Senate when he was going up against Trump in the primaries. He thinks he's vice president. And then it was an ongoing joke of, if I joke about it, then people will think that I wasn't serious before. Dude, we know that you think you're vice president. We know you're not pulling the strings there. We know somebody else is. You probably have a team doing it for you. You're not here. You've been on vacation since you started. So don't give me this whole ruse of like, I need to go on vacation again because I'm tired because I'm working hard. You're not doing anything, Joe. Literally anything. You don't got to look far. Look around. Inflation, Russia, Ukraine, Afghanistan, going back to the Chinese and Russia now. That's news, folks, for all of you that don't know that. Russia and China are working in cohesion with the Taliban. Isn't that just fun? You left over $7 billion of military-grade equipment there. You got domestic policy issues. You got foreign policy issues. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So, but he needs a vacation, you guys. He's working so hard, just so hard. Dan Crenshaw goes on here and says, this is a very unprecedented measure. And you know that when you are going after an ex-president who may run again, this is automatically political. You cannot separate the legal aspects from this political aspects around it as well. You can't. And it doesn't seem to me there's actual responsibility as a result of that. Tapper pressed Crenshaw, noting that at least one of Trump's lawyers had signed a written statement to the Department of Justice saying that all classified material had been returned to the federal government. Quote, lawyers did sign that document that they have nothing left, Crenshaw replied. Now, that's either a huge mistake on the lawyer's part, but even if it's nefarious, then why not say, hey, we don't believe you. Now let us come back. Let's go through these boxes again. Do any of us really believe Donald Trump is reading nuclear secrets at his bedside at night? And that is the thing there. I think that more than anything that Dan Crenshaw said, that sentence has it. Do any of us really believe that Donald Trump is reading nuclear secrets at his bedside at night? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. But the Democrats probably do. The Democrats think this man is like so evil. They have this like image in their mind that he's so evil. I don't even think Hillary Clinton is that evil. Like, there's a side of her where I know she's going to family functions. She's probably a nice lady with family functions. I know some of you might be like, Brad, what the hell are you talking about? No way in hell. Look, I'm sure she's delightful with her family. Same way Joe Biden, I'm sure, is delightful with his family. I'm sure he cares about his son tremendously. I'm sure he cared a lot about his son that passed away. I'm sure he cares a lot about his wife. Like, these people are human beings. We see them in the public and we make fun of them. I do it all the time here on the Bald Brad Show. But they are still people. That's kind of, in my opinion, that's built into the cake, which is why I don't talk about it a lot here on the show. Like, they're still human beings. I think they make asinine decisions and stupid decisions, but they still are people. So I'm able to separate of like, I don't think they're just wholeheartedly like just evil and just fully corrupt. There is that side of family behind that as well, I think. And I also think they have true good intentions in their mind. I think their true intentions are batshit crazy, but I do believe that they think they have good intentions. Democrats don't want to sit there and adjust going, okay, well, maybe Trump said this for this reason, right? When he was like, oh, well, it's in China. It came from Wuhan. It's not racist. That's xenophobic. It's from China. You know, they go, oh my God, this guy's racist. This guy's crazy. What a racist. But they don't look at the aspect of like, well, he employs a ton of black people. He employs thousands of Mexican people and Asian and all sorts of ethnicities. Partied with black people his entire life. No issues then. So, I mean, there's all these things of like, why don't you just look back at history of what this man has done and you're going to sit there and just say all these things? So you guys, I think, are picking up on what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's black and white. I'm saying it's very gray on how we should view people. But Democrats just look at it very black and white. I'm like, look, this man is just sitting at his bedside reading nuclear codes. Oh my God, he should be in jail because he has nuclear things at his home. It's like, we don't know what the hell was at his house. Nobody said anything so far. We still don't know anything, which we should. And they're like, oh, well, let's just release the documents. But we're going to redact them. Why release them anyways? There's not going to be any names. There's not going to be anything important that we're going to be able to get out of it. Maybe like one or two things max. We don't know what the hell's going on. And they're not releasing this for a multitude of reasons, but also one of which it probably is going to make them look very bad. And I'll tell you why. If this was as serious as they say it is, serious enough where you need to send in the FBI 31 plus agents to rummage through Melania's clothing, her freaking underwear drawer, whatever it may have been, right? Probably didn't really go through those things. It's more of a joke than anything. You're going to sit there and say this is this serious, but then you're going to sit on it for multiple weeks and before you make a decision. This is coming from Merrick Garland. How is it that serious then? If it's like, whoa, we need to go raid a former president, something that's never happened before, we're going to get super bad press about this. It's going to look, the optics are just going to look terrible. If it was that serious, you would have done it in a heartbeat, but you didn't. You sat on it for 3 weeks to make a decision. And then you were still dumbfounded at the fact that there's backlash about it. So you had to come out and get a whole press conference, which you're shaking in your little boots, Merrick Garland, reading off a teleprompter, better than your boss, might I add. You actually did a very good job reading from your teleprompter. But this is just terrible optics, and we're not going to stop covering it here on the Bald Brad Show until November is done. So get ready for another 4 months of this, somewhere around there, 4 or 5 months. Jumping into our last story of the day, I've always said since day one, folks, I'm going to keep you up to date on what's going on with illegal immigration. And we got a new poll out here regarding majority of Americans classifying what's taking place at the U.S.-Mexico border as an invasion. Now, I did this. I did a short, and I think I released a TikTok video on it as well as an Instagram video on it, saying, hey, when the whole Russia-Ukraine thing happened, they sent in 120,000 troops. But when we have over 200,000 people coming in every single month into our country, that's not an invasion, right? And people lost their crap over it. People are like, how are you going to compare, Russia invading Ukraine with people just want to have a better life? Yeah, I understand that, but it still could be classified as an invasion. You don't have to have weapons with you to be classified as an invasion. You're literally invading a country. I mean, there are so many illegal immigrants here. It makes up more. There's more illegal immigrants than we have in population of 3 of our states. That's a problem there, folks. A major problem. Not to the Democrats. Not to the Democrats at all. My question is, when did Democrats flip on this whole illegal immigration thing? I mean, you look back in the 90s with Bill Clinton. He didn't want illegal immigration. He wanted the border solved and figured out. I mean, hell, even Obama technically wanted that as well. I mean, he lied about it, but at least that's what he was saying when he was running his primaries and running for election of the President of the United States. So I don't know when the hell this all of a sudden was like, oh, we got to have people coming in willy-nilly, just illegals everywhere. I don't know when it started changing. It says more than half of Americans say there is an invasion happening at the southern border. A new poll revealed it isn't just Republicans concerned with the overwhelming flow of illegal immigrants into the country. Well, there's also a significant number of Democrats are also troubled by the inrush of migrants. According to NPR, the poll was released Thursday. 54% of Americans believe that it is just at least somewhat true that there's an invasion at the southern border. Broken down by political affiliation, 76% of Republicans say there is an invasion happening at the U.S.-Mexico border, whereas 40% of Democrats and 46% of independents say there's an invasion happening at the U.S.-Mexico border. That's actually more than I thought would have been. I thought Democrats and independents actually would have been lower, so this is a good sign. Maybe they're starting to pick up, maybe busing them to their cities and going, oh, this is a bad thing, this isn't going well, maybe awoken them somewhat. The poll was heavily skewed towards Democrats. Of the 1,116 survey participants, 516 were Democrats. Wow. 317 were Republicans and 141 were independents. Yeah, I would say that's a little skewed. Just a little bit. What kind of poll is that? You wouldn't make more of an effort in what we call, so this poll, if anybody wants to learn a little bit of statistics, this type of polling or survey is what we call observational studies. There's a lot of problems that come into observational studies, which we're kind of seeing in the prior elections under Trump in 2020, where the polls were just astronomically wrong, not even close. But you got to know, look, if we have 317 Republicans, we need to try to make an effort to even it out to get more of a base and more of an understanding of what that represents as a population as a whole. So honestly, just a terrible job from this poll, to be honest. The survey found that nearly half of Americans say that Democrats are working to open our borders to more immigrants, including more than 70% of Republicans. The poll found that 50% of Americans feel as though immigrants are an important part of our American identity. Okay, can we stop with this? There is a difference between illegal and legal. Okay, my parents, specifically my father, is a legal immigrant, came from England, came here legally. Didn't jump the line, didn't say F you to everybody else that's been waiting, paying all their money, doing their exams. No. Waited in line, did the things that needed to be done to come here legally. Everybody agrees that immigrants are an important part of an American identity. No duh. That's one of those things, again, it's just built into the cake. Everybody, for the most part, agrees with that. Okay, we're a melting pot. But as long as you want to come here legally and you want to assimilate to our creed rather than wanting to destroy it like a lot of Democrats, specifically the progressive left, want to do in regards to literally tearing up and throwing in the trash our Constitution or getting rid of the Supreme Court because it's not swaying our way. You know, they want to do all these things, get rid of the Declaration of Independence, like all this stuff. You have Democrats, specifically progressive left, wanting to do. So I would rather take a illegal immigrant that wants to assimilate to our creed, believes in all the values of our American system, our U.S. Constitution, Declaration of Independence, doesn't want to change it, doesn't want to do any shenanigans, wants to do all the things right, actually build a better life for their family, than have a Democrat here that wants to throw our United States Constitution into the trash, rip it up, burn it, burning flags, burning cities down. I would rather make a trade. Because clearly they don't like America. You got somebody here that wants to cross hundreds of miles, sometimes thousands of miles of desert and country to come here. You have other ones that aren't doing that, are living here, benefiting off what we've had, and those that sacrificed and made the ultimate sacrifice, whether that was through war or other avenues, that are saying, oh, well, this country's trash, it's racist, it's a bunch of xenophobics, all this other stuff. So why don't we make a swap then? Why don't you go back to their country? We'll make a switch. You go wherever they're coming from, and they come here and live a nice life, and they'll take your spot. Why don't we do that? But no, obviously that's crazy, but you guys get what I'm saying. A steep decline from 2018 when 75% said the same. So that is a steep decline. So the poll found that 56% of Americans feel as though immigrants are an important part of American society. But in 2018, that was 75%. So geez, about 20% drop there. Eesh. Support for building a wall or fence along the entire border between U.S. and Mexico increased from 38% just in 2018 to 46% in 2022. So as time goes on, people are clearly seeing there's some sort of issue taking place, and we need that border wall. The popularity of giving legal status to undocumented or illegal immigrants brought to the U.S. as children has dropped from 65% to 51%. In the poll, 73% of Americans said the vast number of migrants apprehended at the U.S. southern border is a problem. So many see it's a problem, but the issue is that we as Democrats and Republicans, we all see a lot of problems here, but how do we solve it is where we tend to divide, right? Whereas Democrats go, well, they're here, they made the trip. We might as well let him in. What's the big deal, right? We'll get him set up with housing. The government's going to pay for it. It's okay. The taxpayer dollars, not a big deal. We'll pay for everything. Just let him in. The problem solved. Whereas we're going, no, send him back. That's not right. There's a lot of people in line. That's an a-hole move to sit there and try to claim asylum of which you're not able to even meet. Like 99+% people in the high 99th percentile don't meet the asylum standards. And then a lot of them are just let into the interior of the country and not sent back. So this whole thing here, that's where we come to the division there of how to solve actually this problem. Send them back, figure it out. They don't need to stay here and do it. They can be sent back. They got to figure it out. CBP has made more than 2 million migrant encounters this fiscal year, which is a record. When we hear record, a lot of times like, it's a monthly record, yearly record. No, folks. Joe Biden has broken U.S. record like ever, like the history of this country, ever since it was devised. There's never been numbers like this in the history of this country. That's how bad things are. But don't worry, he's on vacation, you guys. He's got it all settled. This is just a challenge. Not a big deal, but he's on vacation. Last year broke this previous record of 1.7 million encounters. The migrant crisis escalated around the time the Biden administration took office, jumping from around 72,000 encounters at the end of 2020 to 173,000 just a year later, according to Fox News. Numbers have not come close to dipping below 150,000 encounters a month mark since then. So he's just been on pace. Hasn't been to the border. Hell, again, I keep asking, and let me know, you guys, honestly, I rely on you guys a lot. I have not seen him on the same podium that Jen Psaki or Karine Jean-Pierre has stood on and taken unfiltered questions from the press ever. And remember how like the press were all pissed at Donald Trump? Oh, he's not answering questions, blah, blah, blah. Where is Joe Biden? Oh, again, sorry. My bad, you guys. He's either sleeping, fumbling with his teleprompter, fighting with his teleprompter, trying to remember his name, probably trying to find a way to get to freaking anywhere in the White House, or he's just on vacation, which is where he's at now. But it's okay. He has everything covered, you guys. He has inflation covered. He has oil covered. He has the supply chain stuff covered. He clearly has what's going on at the U.S.-Mexico border covered. I don't even know why we're covering it here. It's figured out. He solved it. That's why he's on vacation. You deserve a good vacation when you haven't done shit. So that's the Democrat way of thinking. For the 17th straight month, more than 150,000 illegal aliens crossed the southern border, including 200,000 illegal aliens in July of 2022. The Biden regime has facilitated an invasion of our southern sovereign borders of more than 4.2 million illegal aliens since 2021. January, to be specific. NPR attempted to blame Republicans for deteriorating public opinion regarding immigration. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. It's no different than what took place with Washington, D.C., with Bowser, as well as the New York City mayor, Eric Adams, blaming Republicans for everything that's going on with their city because they can't support them. And if you recall, this whole blaming Republican things has been going on quite some time. This isn't the first time this has happened, but it's definitely starting to make interest because Biden messes everything up, removing Trump's policies. You have a massive influx taking place in Arizona and Texas. They can't support it. They can't figure it out. They're declaring state of emergencies. They're asking for the National Guard. They're not sending it, so they implement the Texas National Guard. They're not getting any help federally, which is the federal government's job, the executive branch to be specific. They're not doing anything. So they go, you know what, fine. We don't have any shelter. We don't have any place to take care of these people. The Democrats want this. You have New York City, that's a sanctuary city, a right to shelter city. So like, hey, you know what? Since you guys want them, you're so happy to take care of them. We'll just bus them there for you. It's not that expensive. We'll pay the freight for it. And you can go ahead and take care of them. We send about 5,100 to New York City. Eric Adams comes out complaining and go, oh, it's the Republicans' fault. I can't take care of these people. You literally have a city of millions and millions of people, one of the biggest cities in the entire planet. And he can't take care of 5,100 illegal immigrants. Whereas you literally have 6,000 to 14,000 coming across the border every day that they expect Texas and Arizona to inherit. They can't take care of less than 6,000 people, saying, oh, it's devastating our infrastructure. We can't afford to pay for them. We're going to have to call on New Yorkers to help shelter them. Everybody has to do their part. And he's blaming Republicans for all this. And Washington, D.C. is echoing it. It's crazy. And now even furthermore, you got NPR attempting to blame Republicans for all this. How many times on this show have I said that's one of the core qualities and values of the Democrat Party is that they don't want to take personal responsibility. It is number one in my books of the Democrat Party not want to take personal responsibility for anything. For anything. I try my best here on the show. If I talk about something and I know that Trump did the same thing or somebody else, you guys have heard me say, I don't agree with that. I don't like that. I talk about it with spending. Trump was a spender. Did not like that. Biden does the same thing. So when we talk about certain things, not a big fan of it. So at least we have some sort of good news to end the show off today, with the vast majority of Americans saying that, hey, you know what? It's an invasion taking place. I did the TikTok like not even a month or two ago. Hell, it might have been a year ago at this point. Jeez, time flies. I'll have to see when I record it. Go check it out. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram. I don't post too often because these lefties are going to come after you and remove it. I got a lot of friends I made on TikTok. They're getting their accounts banned. I don't really want to put in a ton of effort to have my account banned. So we're going to stick here on YouTube for a bit, but you should still follow. There's some content there as well on Instagram and TikTok. Folks, we're about to hit the 40-minute mark. That's kind of the bread and butter of the show. We're going to be back here tomorrow with another episode of the Bald Brad Show. I do want to apologize for no Supernatural Saturday as well as a Sunday episode. I was reffing all weekend, a little bit tired. I got to keep up with my health here. I don't want to drive myself into a ditch here and then not even be able to do a Bald Brad episode. I want to make sure that we get this news out, this important news, and the community here at the Bald Brad Show still gets some sort of episode each and every day, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button. Also, leave me a comment down below. It really does help the channel. And a friendly reminder to try and sit and watch through the entire episode all together, or anything that I upload. It does yeoman's work, you guys. I'm not asking for money, just asking for a little bit of your time. Well, not a little bit, 40 minutes is quite some time, but you understand what I'm saying. If you're not interested, hit that mute button and just walk away for a bit. Do what it is you need to do. Thank you so much for those that do watch each and every day. You guys are true American patriots, and I'll see you tomorrow here on The Bald Brad Show.